So, how to prevent lymphedema? I'm a lymphatic specialist. I'm certified in lymphedema management as a physical therapist. So, I see people that are at risk of lymphedema, and this is the most important talk I give them. First of all, let's back up and say, I really think some of the things I'm going to ask you to do and avoid doing maybe wouldn't make sense, and you're less likely to do them. So I want you to understand why I want you to do some of these things to prevent lymphedema. So first of all, you have to know why you have a lymphatic system. There's two main reasons that you have a lymphatic system in your body, and every human being has one. The lymphatic system does two major roles. I like to tell people, if you looked at my left hand, all the blood that goes to my hand, 100% of it gets delivered via an artery. An artery kind of brings all the oxygen and nutrients to my hand. My hand uses up the oxygen and the nutrients, and those cells spit out waste. The blood has to get back out of my arm now that all that stuff has been used up. How does it get back to my heart? 90% of my blood from my hand gets back to my heart via my veins. That leaves 10% unaccounted for. So where does that 10% go? You guessed it, it's the lymphatic system. So your lymphatic system handles fluid removal from my hand. That's why when you have lymphatic problems, you could see swelling. So it does that 10% on average. The other thing that it does, this is really, really interesting. I have an intact lymphatic system. If I get a cut straight across my hand, no matter what I pick up, if I pick up this microphone stand and cut my hand, there's probably some bacteria in this environment, and I'm gonna get some bacteria inside my body past this skin barrier. If I just touch it to my hand and I don't break my skin, the bacteria can't get into my body. Awesome, I stay healthy. But if it gets in, there's a problem. The bacteria want to be in that environment and proliferate. What happens, your lymphatic system is a system that will gobble up that bacteria. It's called an antigen. It's something that shouldn't be in your body that's now all of a sudden in your body. And it will take it to a lymph node. The lymph node in my left arm is where all my lymphatic fluid flows to. It will then take it to that border crossing, and it will be recognized at that border crossing as not part of me. It doesn't say this is part of Jack on it. All my cells have the word Jack written on them because that's my name, and the bacteria doesn't have that marker. So all of a sudden an immune response gets kicked on. It's a new antigen. It's something that's never been in my body before. That's the first line of defense. That border crossing, it won't go any further. It will be killed, and then an army of immune cells, lymphocytes, your white blood cells will go down there and kill whatever got into your body on that cut. That's how it works in a intact lymphatic system. If I get that cut and I had an impaired lymphatic system, say I had surgery on my left axilla, my left armpit, I got my lymph nodes removed. I have impaired lymphatic flow, and I get that cut. Now the bacteria doesn't get gobbled up because I have slower lymphatic flow or limited flow, and the bacteria has time to hang out in my skin, and bacteria are like bunny rabbits. Multiple bacteria get together and hang out. You're gonna see a larger and larger family of bacteria grow, and that's when you develop a thing called cellulitis, or an infection in the hand around that cut. And what you'll see is instead of just a little bit of redness, by the next day the redness is gone, I have a scab dries up, boom, I have barely even a scar. I'm done, I'm cool. If you get cellulitis, you'll see that redness start to expand. You'll see a defined border around the red area that then changes and becomes bigger, an irregularly shaped area. I will start to develop cellulitis. I will start to feel malaise. I will feel tired. I'll feel like I'm not feeling well, like I'm getting sick, I'm coming down with something, and I have this redness. Go to the ER. You need to get looked at by a doctor right away, and they need to prescribe the right antibiotic to fight that infection that you're now seeing. Cellulitis is bad. You do not want to get it. So those are the two functions. It helps remove fluid, and it helps to instigate the immune response when something is bad and it's inside my skin. So those are the two main functions. The other really cool thing that it does and that you need to understand is that when I'm just chilling, when I'm relaxed and I'm doing nothing, the lymphatic system is kind of working at a really low level down here. If I were to say jog 10 miles, which I would never do because I don't like jogging, but if I did it, the lymph system has this tremendous capacity to ramp up and start pumping more fluid. You know how red you get when you exercise? You have all that fluid going through your body. You have to manage that. The lymphatic system could kind of be called in to do more work. And that I have this capacity, and here's where my baseline is, but I have this big window where I could operate and do crazy stuff, go do a Spartan race, and I don't get leg swelling or I don't get arm swelling. But if I had a surgery, here's really like a cool take home to visualize this. If I had that surgery, that I might not get swelling, but I might lower my capacity to handle that increased demand. So if I had, going back to this injury or this surgery, I had lymph tissue removed from this arm. If I washed windows for 5 hours in the spring and just really, really worked my arm, because I say this is my dominant arm and I'm more comfortable doing it, and I had that surgery, I might go past my threshold. I might wake up the next day with swelling in this hand from all that work. So keep those things in mind. The one job is to remove more fluid. The other job is to mitigate the immune response when something bad gets into my body, like a bacteria. And then third, remember, hey, I didn't have swelling after my surgery, but maybe I lowered the ceiling or lowered the capacity of my system to handle excess fluid buildup. Now, here are the do's and don'ts. Basically, it boils down to those few things we just talked about. We do not want to break the barrier of your skin. If, let's say, I had a left axillary lymph node dissection, that means I had lymph tissue removed from my left armpit. Okay, this whole half of my upper body, down to my belly button, up to my collarbone, down my whole arm, to the middle of my back, down to where my belly button is and around. That whole area of my body drains to this armpit. My whole arm drains to this armpit. What I want to do is really protect the skin on that quadrant of my body. I kind of gave the example, okay, this is covered with bacteria. No big deal. Didn't get into my skin. My skin's like a wall, a fortress wall to keep bacteria from coming into your skin, into your body. You want to maintain the integrity of that skin. So if you'd like to get manicures and you had a left axillary lymph node dissection, do not let them clip and cut and dig at your nails and cut your skin. Bad stuff. I wouldn't let anybody do that anyway, but if you want that look and you're digging into there with these metal sharp instruments, that could be the entry point for bacteria to get in and cause this major problem. And I've seen that. So you have to really protect this fortress, this barrier that bacteria can't get past. You have to keep it intact. All the stuff that you could think, I don't want to get burned because I'm going to get a blister that it opens up and that's an opening in the barrier. I do not want to get a mosquito bite. I do not want to have a mosquito's little beak stick into my arm and break that skin barrier and have me slap them and have it break it off in my arm and create an infection there. I don't want to get bug bites. I do not want to get cut, so if I'm working with the dishes, I'm going to wear gloves for two reasons. I don't want to get cut, and I also, so I'm going to be really careful, and I don't want to do like the Thanksgiving dishes for, an hour of all those dishes, because you're going to get prune hands. When you get prune hands, you're now making your skin less than waterproof. It only has a certain amount of time where it's pretty much impermeable to water, and then eventually you see that pruny look. You're now breaking that barrier down through soaking your hand for so long in that water. So that's really important not to let that happen. Just put on those yellow gloves and you can do your dishes and spend time with your family. That's not a big deal, but I don't want prune hands on my patients that have the left axillary lymph node dissection. I do not want them to work in the garden without gloves. I do not want them to get cut. So those are the kind of the general things that you do not want to allow that skin to break down. The other thing with the dishes, if you're looking at most dish soaps, they're very caustic to your skin. They dry out your skin. It's humid now, it's the middle of summer, but if it was winter and it was February and our humidity is super low and the heat is pumping, you know how dry your hands get. That drying out of your hands and getting the oil kind of all stripped off of your skin will lead to those little cracks, and those little cracks that you'll see on your knuckles if you're washing your hands a ton of times like I do in the clinic. Those are also barriers where you can develop a problem. So you're going to moisturize your skin, especially in the dry area, or if you're constantly washing your hands like I do, moisturize, keep that barrier intact. The other thing is we talked about decreased capacity, so we don't want to do something crazy and overwork our system. So let's say I had the axillary lymph node dissection. I love a certain activity like badminton, or I love to clean, or I love to do the yard work, or whatever it is. I'm not going to jump right into a max effort activity. And this is where it's gray, because it's not black or white what you can and can't do activity wise after a surgery. But the smart thing to do is to start small. So if you love to do 5-8 hours of work on a Saturday in your yard, and you've had this surgery done and you might have that lower capacity, do a half hour of work. Take a long break. Do a half hour again later. See how your arm responds to it. And then gradually build up 45 minutes, an hour. Take frequent breaks. Same thing with the gym. There is no magic recipe. There is no magic amount of load that you know you could ever handle again, and you can't. You just have to incrementally challenge the body. And the without getting really deep into it, there are stages of lymphedema, and the first stage is like a latency stage, just like, I don't feel right. This is my non-operated side. They felt pretty much equal when I was working out, and then for 8 hours after, this side felt stiff and boggy, and it didn't look any different. They looked the same, but this one's starting to feel a little bit weird. That's like a latency stage, and that's kind of getting deep into a different topic, but that might be your trigger. Like, man, maybe that workout was a little bit on the high side. I don't know really where my ceiling is, so I'm going to maybe step down a little bit on that intensity and then gradually try to work it back up. But those are the general guidelines. Don't overwork your arm. Don't overheat your arm. When you get hot, you'll get red because more blood flows to that area. Again, we might have a low ceiling, so you get in a hot tub, you soak that arm, and you might overwhelm that. So those are kind of the basics. Maintain that skin integrity. You now know why you have a lymph system. You now know why you should keep your skin intact. You now know why you shouldn't jump back into, 1,000 reps of an exercise, when you go back to the gym, because that's just what everybody else is doing. You're going to have to accommodate to this and build back up into things wisely. So that's kind of a really condensed version of my do's and don'ts of lymphedema talk that I do for people throughout the last several years. I hope that helps you. If you have questions about lymphedema, just put them in the comments below, and I'll try to get to them as soon as possible, and I hope that helps somebody.